Okay, so in the international adoption only section of the questions, these are some of the questions that you're going to be asking. So, not some of them, these are all the questions you're going to be asking. And it's the same format as the domestic, and that you have the little checkbox that you're going to be checking off once you've discussed that section with the family, so that we can document you've asked and talked about that with them. Okay, the first one says, caseworker, take time to educate the family that oftentimes the information provided during a referral is not as extensive as the adoptive family would like, and they may have many questions which remain unanswered. Also share that the information which is provided might not be accurate, as the information is oftentimes obtained through interview with biological parents if possible and relies on their honesty. There are some children who have been abandoned and no family history is available. Also, the medical information provided in the referral might not meet the expectations that we have in the United States, as the medical care in other countries may not be as advanced. Advise them that they should have an adoption medical professional chosen prior to referral, so that they are able to have a medical professional review the referral prior to acceptance. In their home study packet, we have a list of adoption medical professionals included in there, so they can look at that and they can have the medical reviewed by an adoption professional. If you receive a referral with minimal information regarding the child's history, would you be comfortable accepting the referral? It would be a little concerning for international adoption if the family said no, they wouldn't, because in international adoption, in a lot of the countries that we work with, the information provided in the referral is very rudimentary and very minimal. And again, does not meet what our American standards would be in terms of medical records and information provided, and the adoptive family is going to want more. So if the family says, no, I'm not accepting a referral of a child if there's not all the information I want, then they might need to have a talk with their program coordinator, whoever that might be, about what a typical referral packet looks like from that specific country they're looking at, because that will help them have expectations and appropriate expectations in regards to what's going to be included in their referral. How will you respond if, when you meet the child, their special needs are more significant than were identified in the referral packet? We've had several situations like this, where we're doing post-placements with the family and they say, this child just has a great deal more special needs than we were aware of. And then we've had situations where the special needs are totally misdiagnosed. For instance, we had a child diagnosed with cerebral palsy. This wasn't through one of our programs, it was through another agency's program. The child was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, and the child got home and the child did not have cerebral palsy, the child just had low muscle tone. And so while that's great for the child, the family was prepared for a child that was very sedimentary and did not move much at all. And then they came home and it's a very active child. So the expectations were not in line with the reality. So this does occur within international adoption. So we want to know how they would respond. We want to know what their thoughts would be and how they would process through that. And again, if we need to refer them to their program coordinator, because this is an area of concern for us and that they're not very flexible in regards to what they're open to and wouldn't be flexible if the child had more significant special needs, then we need to know that up front, and the program coordinator, whether at ABI or at another agency, needs to know that in regards to this family. Do you anticipate retaining all or part of your child's birth name? This is, again, just something for them to start thinking about. It's also, again, those expectations, making sure that they know and are prepared for, you might have the intention of naming your child Billy Bob, but maybe your child's 8 years old and they've gone by a different name their whole lives and they don't want Billy Bob. They want the name they have been called for 8 years. The family needs to be prepared for that. It needs to know that it needs to be some flexibility on that. Even if it's mixing the names and doing, a first name that's American and a middle name that is Chinese, or vice versa. Having some flexibility in regards to what the naming of the child looks like. Caseworker, discuss that all children are unique in this matter. The child might want an American name. The child might also fight against an American name and want to retain their name. Flexibility on the part of the parents is important in this matter. Then here goes just some additional international questions. Will you support a trip back to your child's country of origin someday? How do you anticipate addressing your child's questions about their country of origin, their personal history, and curiosity regarding birth parents? Again, we're starting to get them thinking about this, and so that they're prepared when that comes. How do you intend on sharing your child's adoption story to them as they grow? And that's kind of the same answer as it was for the biological section, in that it evolves over time, and it just becomes, when they're 4 years old, you just give them a small snippet of the story, and then as they grow older, you give them more and more and more, until they're old enough and mature enough to deal with the entirety of their adoption story. Whether pursuing domestic or international adoption, there are risks related to the adoption process. Some of the risks related to international adoption include, but are not limited to, the possibility of a country's program closing, unforeseen hurdles in the process, changes in policies or procedures, changes in foreign governments and specifically the adoption process, inaccurate referral information, and the list goes on. If and when your family is faced with one of these anticipated obstacles, how do you anticipate navigating that? In adoption, it's not when does the hurdle happen. It's not if the hurdle happens, it's when the hurdle happens, because something's going to happen along the way that isn't according to the plan that they had or wasn't what they had in mind. And so it's not a question of if it's going to happen, it's a question of when. When they're going to hit a speed bump, it's going to happen, and how are they going to respond, and how are they going to navigate it, so that, again, you're preparing them so that they know when it happens, and it won't come as a surprise because they're like, oh, Maria talked to us about this already. We know this was going to happen, and we're ready for it, so here's our hurdle. Let's cross it. I guess you don't cross a hurdle. Let's go over it. As a child processes their struggles with loss and grieve losses they have had in their lives, what are some of the symptoms of grieving in a child? And this is to see first of all, what they know already about grieving. If they've already done our training that they're required to do, they're going to have some of these answers, so that's good. But this is to see that they know what grieving looks like in a child. And then this little blurb underneath, the caseworker is going to say, goes with it. It says, caseworker, take time to educate the family on child grieving behaviors, such as inconsolable crying, lack of appetite, voracious appetite, rocking, self-soothing behaviors, etc. Discuss the family's anticipated responses to such behaviors and how they might care for their child as their child grieves. We have children who don't exhibit any of these behaviors, and then we have children that exhibit very minimally, and that maybe they don't sleep good the first couple of nights, and they're crying the first couple of days, and then we have children where the grieving process might take weeks and months for the child to get through. And then there might be little things that trigger, if their country is mentioned, or if a picture comes up from their home country, it might instigate grieving behaviors or some grief in the child. And so anticipating how the family's going to respond to that, how they're going to deal with it, and making sure they know that it's normal. And it has nothing to do with their parenting. It has nothing to do with if the child's bonding to them or attaching to them. It just has to deal with the fact that this is a process the child has to go through, and a process the child is going to go through. But it can be a bonding opportunity for them if they're there for the child, and if they let their child openly grieve with them, then they can be there to console their child and to process through it with their child. It's an open door for invitation for them to attach to their child when they help them grieve. Caseworker, take time to educate the family on the reality that bonding is not automatic for the child or the parents. Discuss the struggles of children to allow themselves to bond with a new caregiver. This is typically one caregiver in particular. Also discuss the reality that the parent might take time to bond with the child as well, and might not feel an immediate love and bond for the child. So in regards to discussing the struggles of children to allow themselves to bond with a new caregiver, you can talk to families about the fact that In certain cultures, bonding and attachment might take longer. A lot of times it depends on the life the child has had so far. If they have never had the opportunity to make a bond and attachment, then it's going to be harder for them. Where if they've had a really strong bond with a foster parent or an orphanage worker, or maybe they're even raised by their biological parent until a certain time, then that's going to help them to make a bond to the adopted family and that they know how to make attachments. So you can educate the parents on that. You can educate the parents, it's in the training that they're going to do for our training, but you can educate them on the cycle of need and how a child attaches and what that process looks like. It's important to discuss with the family the reality that parents take time to bond as well. The bond is not immediate. I tell families all the time, it was very awkward for me when I was trying to bond with Silas, and it wasn't immediate, but at that point I didn't have a biological child, so I didn't know any different. And then when I had Alex, it wasn't as hard, and it was surprising for me how easy the bond and attachment came with my biological child. But I had him second, so with Silas I knew no different. I just thought attachment and bonding was something you fought for and that you worked through with any child. So talk to families about that. I've had a lot of adoptive mothers say, I just didn't know that the bond would be so hard on my part. Like, we expected our child to have trouble attaching. I didn't know I would have trouble attaching as the parent. But it is hard because this child is all of a sudden thrown into your arms and you have to meet their every need, and the attachment might not be there yet. And so it takes time to form that bond and that attachment with your child. And that's made through play and through having fun with your child and through having experiences that the two of you can enjoy together. How can you ease your adopted child's adjustment? What tangible things can you do to make their adjustment easier? Again, this is to get them thinking so that they know ahead of time. What can you do to assist with your attachment to your child? Them knowing what things help them attach. I'm a play attacher. Like, Silas and I love to play together, and that's how we attach to each other. Other people are more physical, where they want to, brush hair and play and kiss and hug, and that's more of their attachment style. So it depends on what your attachment style is. What can you do to assist with the bond of the adopted child to other siblings in the home, if applicable? How can the parents strengthen the bond between adoptive siblings and biological siblings or previously adopted siblings? What things can they do within the home to help the children bond with each other and attach with each other? Whether it's playing, whether it's baking together, whether it's doing activities together, playing games together. It's important to know how they're going to strengthen that bond between the siblings as well. Okay, I have 2 more on this, but I think I need to go and pause and stop this video and go to the next video.